the stars of Snowpiercers, Daveed Diggs, who was on last week, Jennifer Connelly, and this man, my buddy from back in the day. Got to meet him years ago on at ESPYs, I believe, and on ESPN when he was the Rick. Now he is a writer, producer, showrunner, and actor extraordinaire. Mike O'Malley back here on the show. How are you, Michael?
Rich Eisen, great talking to you today, man. So happy to be with you. I'm doing all right. I'm surviving. You know, I'm home with 3 teenagers
in
lockdown mode still. So we got a 17-year-old, we got a 15-year-old, we got a 13-year-old. So it's insane. I miss the youth sports. I'd do anything to sit in the stands next to some dad I wanted to punch in the throat without knowing what I'm talking about. But I never thought I'd miss that either. I never thought I'd miss it. I miss it now.
You never thought you'd miss the parents who make life miserable for youth sports, but that is the way that the world is turning right now, Mike. Well, how did you get in? How did you first get involved? And again, you're big on youth sports here and baseball for sure, about teaching kids the game and the love of the game and all that. How did you get involved in that years ago?
I'm a schmuck, Rich. I'm a schmuck who believed that dads had to be around their sons to hang out and have a good relationship with them. And I, like any schmuck dad, I got suckered into it by some guy who made it seem like it was a great thing. And then next thing I know, I was doing it. And like I said, anytime you can leave a youth gym or a youth sports field and not have gotten into a fist fight with somebody, I think is a great day. That's the victory for me. It's not about teaching kids the love of the game. It's just realizing how much we're really on. Humanity's on the brink of war at any time because of that rage that's within us to have to sit next to people who don't know what they're talking about.
Well, you know what, Mike? One year I've mentioned it here on the show. I don't know if you were. That was why we had you call in once, but I think it was with it wasn't this particular, but the youth league that that you are associated with here. My son plays in, and. He had a manager who would set the lineup based on when the kid arrived. So if you brought your kid late, he would hit like 10th in the order and then have to wait maybe like 3 innings to hit. So for the final game, I'm like, which by the way wasn't very fair to parents with like 2 other kids and a Sunday. Oh, it's just so anyway. My wife and I, we were determined we were going to get our son to the game on time for the last game of the year, and sure enough, we got him in the top of the order, and he gets up there, and another fellow 8-year-old hits him in the chops. And he goes right down, and so I go out on the field to make sure he's okay because he never says a word whenever he gets hurt. And this time he was beginning to cry. And the umpire told him to take his base, Mike. The umpire told him to take his base, and I started telling the umpire, I'm like, no, we've been waiting a week for my son to hit. No, we got my son here on time. You have no idea what the hell was happening in my house today. And I was suddenly, with everybody watching, I was that dad going to an umpire who's giving his time for this event. I was that guy.
Terrible, Rich.
I was that guy for a split moment, Mike.
Yeah, you're allowed to be that guy because you care. This is the thing, Rich. When your kid, here's the thing. The thing about sports that I've figured out is that when your kid strikes out or they make an error or, the opposite, they get a hit, it's all primal. When you think to yourself, oh my God, my name is never going to go on. This person's never going to meet a girl, fall in love, have children because he can't succeed. This is primal. It's just we've taken it to things like sports. But anyways, Rich, I'm sorry that happened to you.
No, it's okay, Mike. We got through it.
As the former president of that league,
yes.
I hope that league mostly brought you joy,
very much
instead of pain.
And we miss it right now. We miss it. I mean, so many young men and women in youth sports, and obviously also high school spring sports being canceled right now. It has been very, very difficult. That people waiting for their senior years for their spring sports before they graduate. It's been brutal. And we go.
I think that one of the things that the kids don't realize, you realize it as grown-ups. It's like whenever you're driving your kid to a practice and, they're kind of like, I'm tired. I don't want to go. I got so much homework. And then if you were to cut to the drive home when they're in a great mood, it's because, that energy that they have from exercising and being with their friends and joking around and laughing. It's just like when you go to do a workout, you never want to go do it. You always feel better after you did it. And I think that they're not able to make that connection necessarily. That's what the difficult thing is. I mean, if all of us come out of this and every single kid is depressed just from being locked in inside, not being able to, exercise and be with their friends, I mean, that's a win,
Yep, Mike O'Malley here on the Rich Eisen Show. Are you going to root for Brady in Tampa? Mike, where are you on that subject?
Of course I am. Yes, of course I'm going to root for him in Tampa. Tom Brady has brought all New England fans and most football fans tremendous joy in terms of how he performed. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like him because he won a lot of Super Bowls and beat their teams. But, I mean, as a guy who, rooted for the Patriots all growing up and then got to be, right around 2000, they started to really take off. This guy is, it's brought so much joy to our family. And so, yeah, I root for him. I listen, now I root for him as an old guy, as a 53-year-old guy.
Yeah, right.
That a guy his age is playing.
Yeah, it's funny. Most Patriots fans that I know, and that includes my friend Chris Brockman, who's across the way here, who you met when you've been around here. Is that Brady going to Tampa was just like, okay, you were kind of expecting Tom to not return, even those who might have held out for thinking he would never leave. But Gronk going too, that's the issue. That's the one thing, like that Gronk comes back and he's going to join Tom there, and that the reunion happens there, not in New England. That's kind of the tough swallow to take right there.
It is, but I think that I think that Rob Gronkowski, I really think that he was not thinking about going back and playing. I really do think that he was retiring. I would love to know. I'd love to talk to him and find out what the inside story was. I mean, a lot of people say, I think one of the reasons he's going back to Tampa, and of course, correct me if I'm wrong, is that they don't think that he's going to have to do as much blocking as he was going to have to do in the Patriots offense. Is that a real reason, you think, Rich?
I don't think so. I just think that he wasn't feeling physically up to it, or wasn't physically mentally up for going through the rigors of a season where everybody's aiming for his knees and below, or his waist to his knees, and go through another Belichick crucible. I don't think he was up for that. Now that he's feeling a little bit better, he misses the game. He saw it, and TB12 calls him up and says, how about you come with me down to Florida? Like everybody who retires, you spend some time in Florida. How about you with me and with Arians, and off we go? I think the answer was 1,000% yes. That's what I think happened.
Yeah.
Guess.
We were interested. I'm writing. So in addition to acting, and I am doing this new show, Snowpiercer, which is awesome. It's on Sunday nights on TNT at 9:00. But I'm also writing and running a show. I had written on Shameless for a bunch of years, and then got more into the writing. And now I'm running a show that's going to be done in Atlanta. That James Harrison. We just cast two former NFL players in this show.
Okay.
Miles Burris and James Harrison, and they're both playing wrestlers in this show. It's about an independent wrestling promotion in in Georgia.
Yes.
And the show is starring Stephen Amell and Alexander Ludwig, and we're just stoked.
Well, here's the thing with James Harrison is when you pay him, you need to pay him in cash in an envelope. Will you do that for everybody?
I will do that.
That's apparently what he's used to on occasion.
If you follow James's Instagram, you know that he works out quite a bit. So
yes, sir.
I'm not going to cross James Harrison.
No, understood. Okay? Understood. So again, the manner on occasion, apparently there's an envelope handed to him. We're assuming there's cash in it. Could be as long as he's got to report it to the IRS. That's all I care about. I want the roads to be paved, and I want the military to be able to be funded. That's all. There you go, Mike O'Malley. And before we do turn to Snowpiercer a little bit here, let's linger a little bit more on your writing, creating, show running abilities, and what you did with LeBron James and Maverick Carter for Stars, Survivor's Remorse. Did you actually sit down and work with LeBron, or vice versa, at any point in time during this process?
Oh yeah, I mean, you say what I did for them. It's more what they did for me. When Maverick Carter, who I met through Tom Werner. Tom is, of course, the owner of the Red Sox,
yes,
and part owner of Liverpool Soccer. But made his name producing television shows, and I had written some stuff with him that didn't go, and he introduced me to LeBron and Maverick, and he said, would you be interested in writing and developing this idea, this premise that they have on what it's like to grow up in a place where you struggle, you come from nothing, and then you have success, and yet all the people that you loved and you cared about and you grew up and are still stuck in that place. So that's where the notion of survivor's remorse came from, which is, Maverick Carter is LeBron's business partner. He's the one who introduced me to that phrase. I had heard of, survivor's guilt and something that happens when, there's a shipwreck or a plane crash. Mm-hmm. You live, someone else dies, you don't know why. But attaching this idea and this concept to growing up in the projects and getting out, and then feeling this obligation to continuously throw life preservers to other people who are still there. What's different about that scenario is that those folks, they're still there. They haven't perished. You can help them with a car payment, with a health insurance payment, with a loan, and it never stops. And especially if you're big-hearted like LeBron and Maverick are. And so they came to me. I wrote this show. I went down, I flew down to Miami, and I actually did a table read of the show with LeBron and Maverick and Randy, their buddy, and a couple of their, I think his wife, Savannah, read a role. It was a real trip to be down there reading the script with those guys. But, what I loved about working with LeBron and Maverick is that they said if it's happening in the world, it could happen on this show. And so, on Survivor's Remorse, we did 4 seasons of the show on Stars, and LeBron was in an episode. Maverick was, really involved as an executive producer. LeBron visited the set a couple times. It was great, but they were very, very supportive of everyone, and to have that kind of support, that wind at your back, was a great thing for me as an emerging writer.
Hey, look, man, and obviously Maverick Carter and LeBron James are huge, obviously in their own right, in their own worlds, and then to enter with you and yours, and it's interesting. You got introduced them by Tom Werner, owner of the Red Sox. I don't know if I'm breaking any news to you. The reason why Mookie Betts is a Dodger is I think Mookie wanted all of Tom's Roseanne money. Asked for every penny of his Roseanne money, and all of John Henry's investment dollars. It's odd. And suddenly Mookie's now a Dodger. I think that's what he wanted.
Right. And they should have gave it to him. Like, what are we doing?
But hold on, he hasn't played a game as a Dodger yet.
Okay.
He may not ever play a game as a Dodger.
I don't know, Mike. I think that ship sailed, brother. I think that ship has sailed, and Mookie's not coming back. He's not walking through that door. Mookie Betts is not walking through that door, to use a Patino phrase.
If there's no season this year, though, he could still go back.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It ain't
exactly.
happening. Oh, please. You guys.
Do you
ridiculous.
think baseball's getting played this season?
I do. I think it, we've been talking about it quite a bit on this show, Mike. I just think that baseball at some point is going to look at each other and say, what the hell are we doing here? I know you don't trust me. I know I don't trust you. I know we have a level of mistrust and distrust that's difficult to bridge, but we're going to figure this thing out, because the last thing we're going to do with everybody trying to come back to play in a pandemic is throw our hands up over economics. That, I think, is just going to rule the day at some point.
Yeah, and I think that, man, would I just love to have a game every day. I mean, it's just so wonderful, baseball. Just every day there's a new story, and, God, I miss it so much.
In the meantime, congrats on the success of Snowpiercer, already picked up for a second season. It's good to see you back on the screen, too, brother, in front of the camera.
Thank you, man. It's been awesome, and, anytime anyone offers you a part where you get to stand next to Jennifer Connelly, two things happen. Okay, two things happen. The first thing, if you're a red-blooded American male, which I am, you say, yes, I'll be there.
Yes.
I've wanted to be standing there for 30 years next to Jennifer Connelly. The sad thing, what happens when you're there, and the photos come back and the footage comes back, you can't believe how hideous you look next to her. I mean, literally. I mean, it's like being Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Okay, there's like a promotional photo where standing next to her, and I thought to myself, you know what? I just like every day, you do what you can. You work with what you can, Rich. I know you look in the mirror, you say, you know what? I may not be the most handsome creature, but I'm looking okay. Then you go to work and you wish somebody had said to you, you look terrible. You're terrible. You look ill. You just, what is it? You need, I understand how, people go get plastic surgery because you're standing next to Jennifer Connelly, who's like a model. I mean, she's stunning looking.
Yes.
She's stunningly nice person, and she's massively talented. And I'm like Shrek next to her. It's terrible.
Well, I hate to tell you, we're looking at you right now. Daveed Diggs is also a handsome man and supremely talented as well. And but you've got a nice suit on. You've got a nice suit. Your beard is trimmed, Mike. So
I'm a great stage in my life, Rich. This is why. Okay, there's so many. The great villains now get to be there's great senators and congressmen and people that I can play for the rest of my life that are just a little bit overweight, a little bit I can't even say thin in the hair. I mean, no hair. It's just we get to be those people that add a different aspect to other people's attractiveness. You stand next to me, you're stunningly attractive, and that's what I bring to projects now.
Hey, Mike, let's just wrap it up with the old Caddyshack line. You're a tremendous slouch. Don't worry. You're a tremendous slouch. You're tremendous.
Oh, God. Well, Rich, I look forward to getting your kid at the top of the lineup back in the league. At the mighty Wilshire Warriors.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And,
I agree.
I was told this morning that I've taken over a hosting job that you did about 18 years ago. You hosted Hot Stove Cool Music for Peter Gammons back in Boston.
Yeah, a long time ago. Oh, my.
A long time ago.
God, that's right.
And
by the way, Peter Gammons can shred, by the way.
He can. He's a great guitarist.
Did you guys know that Gammons can shred the guitar?
I knew that he was in a band. I didn't realize
I've seen it. Boy, that's when you were the Rick when I did that.
When I was the Rick, that's when I came up with it. So they passed the baton to me because you're smart and you're out here in Los Angeles. But we actually have an event in January 18th that him and Theo Epstein for their foundation to be named later. They're going to do a live event online. So we were talking about you this morning.
Fantastic.
So I know this is compelling radio.
Mike,
talk about this.
It's all good, brother. You're a blast to have around. And again, congrats on Snowpiercer. Again, 9 Eastern on TNT on Sunday nights. Thanks for the time, man. You be well.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Right back at you. That's Mike O'Malley. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.